Good evening, First Robotics community. My name is Sean Lim, and I am the Director of District Implementation for First Robotics Canada, and I wanted to welcome you to our second Ask the Experts webinar for the 2015-2016 season. And today's webinar is going to be on preseason training and rookie startup trips. We have an amazing group of panelists on with us today. But also joining me from First Robotics Canada is Paul Keenan, one of our first year mentors. And we're going to discuss today the best activities for both rookies and for veteran teams to be able to prepare for the upcoming FRC season. And without further ado, I'd like to take a moment to introduce some of our guest panelists that we have with us today. And joining us is Ben Bennett, currently a mentor for 1114, and actually has a very interesting history. Both 1114 has won a Rookie All-Star Award, a very little known fact, back in 2003. But Ben himself, as a student, was a member of Team 2166 out of Appleby College. And as a member there, Appleby actually won a Rookie All-Star Award as well. So Ben, glad to have you with us. Ben, would you mind telling us a little bit more about yourself as well?
Yeah, thanks for having me, Sean. Like you said, I started with 2166 at Appleby and was a student there for 1 year in grade 12 and then continued to mentor for 2 more years. At the time, 1114 was like our mentor team, so I kind of got involved with them and got to know the team, and they helped us out a lot with putting together our robots and stuff. And yeah, I just decided to join their team. It was a really strong team, and I thought there was a lot of opportunity to learn from them. So 2010 was my first year with 1114, and just been with them ever since.
Great. And Ben, you've also actually served in the past as 1114's drive coach as well, so you've got some on-field experience?
Yeah, for the last 3 years I've been the drive coach.
Awesome. Well, glad to have you, Ben. And also joining us is Corey Leaman, the lead mentor and teacher for FRC Team 1241, Theory 6 out of Rick Hansen in Mississauga. Corey, would you mind telling us a little bit about yourself as well?
Well, as you said, I am the lead teacher on 1241 and 1285. The high school is Rick Hansen Secondary School. It's a Peel school, and it's located in about central Mississauga. I've been involved with the team since 2012, and in 2013 was when I took over for John Hobbins. So it's been an awesome experience, and we've been helping out a lot of rookie teams in the past few years, and I'm happy to answer any questions anyone might have.
Awesome. And just as a little background, Team 1241 is also a Rookie All-Star winner. That was way back in 2004. I know, Corey, you weren't around to see that happen, but I actually was, not on Team 1241, but when I was a student on Team 188. I have to say that was a pretty awesome experience to see that happen as well. But Corey, glad to have you on board. Really appreciate your time tonight. And last but certainly not least, we have Roland Sing, who is a lead mentor for Team 1325 Inverse Paradox, one of our much more established teams. Roland, would you mind telling us just a little bit about yourself?
Thanks, Sean. Well, yeah, I've been involved. I think this is my 14th season now, being a volunteer in some way, shape, or form. And first, I blame my son for this. Going back, starting with Lego when he was in middle school, and then my daughter also became involved. Also was on Lego teams. Was also a parent volunteer on 1241 because my son did go to Rick Hansen. But my daughter went to Gordon Graydon, which is where 1325 is, and joined the team there, and became involved there more and more officially as a mentor, and kind of took over the lead role on the team during the teacher job action in 2013. And I've basically been running it since then. This is the 6th season now with 1325.
Great. Well, thanks for being with us, Roland. Really appreciate your time. Now, I don't have a slide for, I guess, our last 2 introductions, but we have Paul Keenan with us, who is a former mentor and teacher from Team 4001, the Robo-Rams from St. Roberts. And Paul's got an interesting background with respect to rookie teams as well, because his former team also won the Rookie All-Star Award at the GTR West back in 2012, a pretty whirlwind year. Paul, glad to have you on with us. And the funny thing is I think maybe I think Roland and I, we're the only two here who haven't won Rookie All-Star awards with our teams. So we're in good company, I think. But the first question that I had for our panel is one thing that I have always kind of been dying to know is what are teams like 1114, 1241, 1325, 4001, our more experienced veteran, really successful teams. What are you guys doing right now? Because it's the preseason. I know you guys do, a certain amount of preparation because with your new team members and everything, they're not quite up to speed. I'd love to get into your heads a little bit just to understand, briefly, what are you guys doing right now just to get ready for the season? So if I could swing this one first, maybe to Ben, 1114, what do you guys do down there?
In the fall, we typically do a lot of VEX. That's how we get our students involved right away, especially the grade 9s that don't really have any experience. They do VEX in the fall. The mentors aren't around too much. The teachers that are at the school take the brunt of the work during the fall time. But we are looking at potentially doing a prototype drivetrain before the season starts, so we'll see how far we get with that. But we really contribute a lot of the success of our team to the experiences that the kids get with VEX.
Very nice. So a preparatory, smaller scale robotics competition, in your case, VEX specifically, just to prep everyone. And you mentioned a preseason drivetrain, which we'll talk about in a little bit more detail. Very interesting. Corey, how about you guys at 1241? What are you guys up to right now?
Well, as soon as school started in September, we always put out the announcement to try to start having the application process start because we want to make sure that we can form our two teams as soon as possible. So right now we have a lot of our senior students delivering workshops for our grade 9s and 10s and anyone that's new on the team. So typically it'll look like we'll have a business level 1, a mechanical level 1, a controls level 1, and the students can choose which ones they want to go out to. Usually we try to have them go to all of the level 1 workshops. And then, of course, we really enjoy right now doing all the off-season events, which give the students like kind of that environmental experience of being at an actual event. And it seems like as soon as they get to go to the first off-season, they really get excited and are motivated to come out more often and stay engaged until the actual season starts.
Very nice. So heavy involvement in both the off-season events, competing in them, and also doing some more structured workshops, I guess, within your team. And you know what? I think we'll get a chance to talk about both of those in a little more detail and how exactly you can get involved in doing both of those. But that's awesome, Corey. Roland, how about for you guys? What are the guys and girls at 1325 up to these days?
Well, I think we're doing much the same thing that Corey's doing. We have kind of like our club day where all the new students go around to figure out what clubs they want to join, and that's when we kind of have our initial sign up for robotics, and then we bring those students in, have them give them an orientation meeting, and we have some of the senior students. Basically, we set up stations in our shop, and so mechanical, electrical / controls programming, and our business team. And they'll do a small presentation and kind of orient all the students so they know everything that the team does, and then from there they kind of choose the areas that they're interested in, and then we have more formal training sessions for each of those areas. So like like this coming Saturday we'll probably be having full sessions on mechanical and electrical / controls for those students that were interested in, for programming. I know the programming kids are working on that as well.
Very nice. Now, you know what? I'm going to put maybe a few guys on the spot. My apologies for asking this, but it's an honest question. But for the rookie teams who are tuning in right now for these workshops and tutorials that you guys have going on, the structured ones, for a lot of the rookie teams who might be looking for the same thing, they obviously don't really have the knowledge, to run these workshops because they haven't done them themselves. But what opportunities might they have maybe to connect up with a veteran team to maybe sit in and maybe do some of those workshops along with them? Maybe Corey or Roland, since you guys, delved up into those in a little bit more detail. Is that something that either both one of your teams would be able to or have done in the past with some neighboring rookie teams?
In the past, we have had some teams like even Central Peel 4939, they've come over to our school and actually attended some of the workshops that we've delivered on weekends. We try to not just have someone standing in front of the classroom like just kind of preaching to all the students, so we usually do have like a PowerPoint presentation, and we're more than happy to share those with rookie teams. Usually once we're tethered with a team, we try to share whatever resources they would find valuable, but we're definitely happy to share in any way we can.
Awesome. Well, one of the
Hi,
things...
Sean.
Yes, Paul.
Sean, we have our first question from Evan Feldman, and he says, our SWOTposium and 2056 ways to inspire good options for rookie teams.
Oh, Paul, do you want to answer that one? Because I think you know the answer to that one pretty clearly.
Well, it's true. They're great events, and the 2056 ways I think was the first time this year, and they're planning on now even doing more, because at the SWOTposium there's going to be rookie teams that get to build a chassis. Aside from all the things that SWOTposium was doing, and the 2056 ways, that's a potential option for them as well next year. So they both might be doing that, which is huge for rookies. The other thing is that you get a chance to connect with veterans, because rookies tend to be a little bit shy about contacting veterans, even though as Corey and the other guys are saying that you definitely should. The other part about that is there are some schools that are rookie hubs, and they will have chassis ready in case you want to build on those. So yeah, it's a great idea. Thank you for the question, Evan.
Thank you, Evan. And just to throw in just another word about SWOTposium, that is indeed a robotics symposium held by St. Mildred's Lightborn, Team 771, called SWOT, and that is at in Oakville, and I believe it's on November 5th. And if you just keep an eye on your email blasts for the FRC teams, there'll be information with specifics about registering for that as well. But that is a great option. The next topic I just wanted to touch upon was one that Ben brought up. He mentioned that they're actually doing a small build project right now. They're building a drivetrain. And again, for rookies, what might be really interesting to know is that there actually is an opportunity for rookie teams and even veteran teams to be able to build a robot chassis beforehand. And AndyMark actually offers a rookie startup kit. And it's available for purchase normally. The price is $2,700 or US, which is a little bit expensive, but for what you get, it's still pretty unbelievable value. But if you're fortunate enough to be a rookie team with those types of resources, and there are a good number of them actually, some of them I know have actually already ordered this and are actually spending the time right now being able to build this to get a basic rolling chassis built. Now, the funny thing is that these parts as part of this kit are the same as the kit that you're already going to get in January. And so technically, if you're buying this kit, you're kind of going to get two kits, which might seem like a little bit of a waste, but the truth is that the extra parts that you'll have from these kits will be useful for building, I guess, the top part of your robot that will actually be used to play the game. But for most rookie teams, I guess most mortals like us, that price tag might be a little bit out of our reach for our budgets. And so what's really nice is that veteran teams often have stockpiled a lot of these kits over the years because we get one of these every year. And some of the older teams don't really use them on their actual robots. And so many veteran teams are more than happy to sort of either give away or to loan the basic components of this kit to a rookie team to be able to spend that time right now to be able to build it. And so that's an interesting option for a lot of rookie teams if they're looking for something to do during this time. Which brings me to my next point. Well, what if you're interested in doing this and you're looking for the veteran teams who might be nearby you? There's a nice little search tool on the First Inspires website, and we'll have this link available for you in the archives on the YouTube archive. But on the firstinspires.org website, there is a little team search where you can literally just put in the area that you're in and view where all the teams are. And if you find one near you, I would say it's worth getting in touch. And the nice thing is when you look at their team numbers, these team numbers are given to teams in chronological order. And so the lower the number of the team, like this one, Where's Waldo, 1547, they're going to be a much older team than, say, this team here, 4943. And the older teams generally do have a lot more stockpiled resources. It might be worthwhile to get in touch with one of them. And even failing that, you're always welcome to contact a first staff member who might be able to match you up with the team as well. Another resource that we'd like to talk about are actually, let's talk about simulations with old FRC games. I think this is something that a lot of veteran teams do. And I'd like to pass this one on maybe back to Ben. On 11.14, is this something that you guys do around this time where you might look at an old game, look at the robot release or the game release video and maybe do just kind of like a simulation where you get your younger members to design or sketch out some robots?
We definitely do reflect on past games. We don't really spend too much time analyzing them, but as far as general concepts to prototype, or if we're trying to project what we think match scores will be, we can definitely draw comparisons to older games and use the knowledge that we got from those games to try and help our analysis of the current game.
Corey, how about for you guys on 1241? Is this something that you guys do pretty in-depth or?
We definitely do this with our rookies, well, our new students, grade 9s and 10s. The nice thing about analyzing a game from the past, especially if the student hasn't been on FRC before, they don't really know how the season has played out, so it really is as if it were to be January for them. And the excellent part is once they've brainstormed an idea, you could actually go and look to see which teams were successful that year and see where their ideas and concepts similar to what robots did well in that year.
Awesome. And you know what, we'll maybe take some time to see what different ways you can actually do that process. But Roland, for you guys, is this something that you guys do? Because we're kind of like 2 for 3 at this point in terms of teams who do look at past games and do at least some kind of analysis on it. How about at 1325? Is this a process you guys do as well?
Well, yeah. I mean, we use past games more for training our design team, and these tend to be students that have at least 1 year experience on the team, but have either shown a very good aptitude or want to be on the design team, and then we'll start getting them working on game analysis, and you know, it's nice because you can pick a game from 2000, 2005, or 2006, and you won't know too much about it. And then they can brainstorm and come up with robot designs, and then we can go back and compare to which ones actually did well. So yeah, we use it more as a training tool for our design team.
All right. So it sounds like all 3 teams do some form of this, and what I did want to share with you is some of the resources that you guys can use if you choose to do a process like this, to look at an old game and maybe get some of your younger members to sketch up designs. How would I have played this game? And so once you've got a few younger members who've maybe sketched up some designs, as what the other panelists have said is, well, you can look back at the history and find robots which are similar to it, and you can actually see how well they did. And so there are a whole series of robot reveal videos, and I've left a link down here, but I'll just show you. On YouTube, there's a playlist of 165 different robots who have robot reveal videos just showing you what these robots look like and what they can do. I'm not going to play this entire one, but let's say hypothetically you have a young student where you're doing this game simulation where you've looked at last year's game and you've asked them to maybe sketch up some designs to play the game. And they've sketched up one that kind of looks like this. You can literally show them, hey, this is what a team did. They actually built the robot that you designed. This is what it looks like. This is how it runs. And you can actually visualize it by showing this robot reveal video. And maybe I'll show about 10 seconds of it. And so, if you had a student that said, hey, what if I built this low robot with a catapult on it with these little fingers at the front that could manipulate the defenses? Boom, you have a perfect example here that you can show them and say, yeah, this is what it actually looked like. And then on top of that, there's a few other really neat resources you can look at, such as the Blue Alliance, which is a scouting database, which has a huge repository of information about the robots. And so once again, 118, if I were to do a search on the Blue Alliance here, maybe I'll just zoom in on this just a little bit more so that you guys can see this, you can actually see their record. And so they were 49 wins, 10 losses last year, so a very successful robot. And if you scroll down, there's a complete match history, every single match that they've played. And in most cases, there's a little play button here which will actually give you match archive video footage of their matches. So if I want to go back, and there's a pretty successful match here in the finals where they scored 200 points, I could hit play here, and this would give me a video of that finals match at the Lone Star Regional down in Texas, and you can actually watch that robot play. And so if you're doing a simulation, some really, really nice visuals just to be able to show the students, hey, if we actually built the robot that you sketched up, this is maybe what it would have looked like and how well it would have done. So some really interesting resources for you guys just to support, a process that basically all three of our panelists do with their own teams. And one last resource, there's one called FRC Designs. And for those teams who, either veterans or rookies, if you're really into CAD work, computer-aided designs, and if you actually wanted to get plans, actual CAD drawings and designs for some old robots, there's a website called frcdesigns.com. If I click on that, I can literally click here on their CAD library, and there are a lot of teams who are very gracious, and at the end of every year, they'll actually submit the CAD designs for their robots. So from 2016, they're still waiting on a few of them, but there's some very successful teams here where if I click here, it'll actually download full CAD drawings, down to the individual fastener in some cases for these robots. So if you really want to see how they built these robots, this is an incredible resource that's available for you guys. Now, probably the most important question that I wanted to take a moment to ask my panelists, but we do have a lot of rookie teams on the call today or on the webinar. And, I always ask this question to some of the most experienced, most intelligent people, most accomplished people in FRC. And that question is if you had the opportunity to start a brand new rookie team today, knowing what you know now, what would you have done differently? Like, what are some of the best things that you would do now, in preparation for your season, if you could do it all over again? And so we'll do this in order. We'll swing this one back to Ben, 11-14. Ben, if you had to do it all over again, rookie team starting it today, what would you be doing right now?
I think the most important thing, and I think this actually goes for veteran teams this year as well, given that we're doing a district model and there's so many more teams that get to qualify, is to keep your design simple. It's always good to push the box a little bit, but just the consistency is the most important thing. And if you can identify one aspect of the game that you think you can really nail, teams will really value that and pick you for having that attribute. So like I said, with the district model this year, consistency is really important, and you don't necessarily have to, try and really stretch yourself to come up with this design that's going to beat some of the top teams in Ontario. You can, consistency will get you there, and for the past several years, it's been consistency that's won the World Championship. So just keep it simple and make sure that what you build is consistent and doesn't break down.
Awesome. We'll swing this one over to Corey, 12-41. If you had to do it all over again as a rookie, what would you be doing? What would you do differently? What's some of your best advice?
I would say now that we do have these off-season events, I would try to take a group of students to, if you're not able to participate, like with as a pre-rookie, at least watch some of it just to get an idea of what's going to be expected at an event. As Ben was saying, I think it's really important that you know what you're capable of, and I know that that's really difficult as a rookie team, but let's say that you are a shop teacher and your school is equipped with like a machine shop, then obviously you're going to be able to do a lot more with the robot. If you don't have, let's say, a wood shop or a machine shop and you're limited to just hand tools, then you need to think of, well, how are we going to have parts made? I would definitely think of, when I do my district sign-up, to look at which veteran teams are going to be at the events, and if there were to be a team, let's say, for instance, if you were going to Ryerson and Georgian, like 1241 is, I would definitely reach out to that veteran team to be able to be like, hey, we're going to be going to those events. Could we ask you some questions? Try to find out what they might recommend, and don't leave things until week 3 and week 4 of build season. Like try to even watch the kickoff event with a veteran team to see if they can give you some pointers about how to do the brainstorming process. Make sure you know the rules, because a lot of rookie teams we come across, they have a great idea, but they didn't read the rules so thoroughly enough, and it's actually going to be illegal, and we then have to work with them to be able to do kind of like a retrofitment of their robot to be able to make it configured to within the FRC rules. So it's just things like that that you don't need as a rookie team weighing over you when it's going to be stressful enough just in your first year.
Very nice, Corey. And I'm just going to try and give a little more detail for those items that you just said, because the off-season events, for those of you who don't know in the audience, we still have 2 more off-season FRC competitions coming up. Fall Fiesta happened just this past weekend at Victoria Park Collegiate in Toronto. This coming weekend, this Saturday, will be the Southwest International in Windsor, October 29th. The details are posted on the firstroboticscanada.org website. If you just do a search in the top bar up here for off-season events, you will get this webpage over here. You can click on Southwest International if you want details on that. Admission is free. You guys are welcome to join us. It's a beautiful venue, amazing event. For those of you who can't travel all the way out to Windsor, however, there's another event happening on November 12th in Hamilton called the Stemley Cup Championship. Again, the details are here as well. Free, open admission to everyone who wants to attend. Rookie teams, if you want to go out and see some robots in person, see the game played, these are your absolute best opportunities. Even going up to the teams and asking them questions about the robots in person, hugely valuable experience. And you'll find that most all the veteran teams are more than happy to share the information towards how they designed the robot, what their philosophy was. Highly, highly recommend those. And Corey even mentioned, look up the teams who are going to the events as you. Again, on this search page, you can search for your events for all of the FIRST Robotics competitions happening in our area. And when you do find them, if you click on the event, so I'll just click on Georgian College over here, you'll actually see these are all of the teams currently registered for the Georgian College event. And if you're looking for contact information or even what school they're at, if you click on the team names, you'll see here there's a website, what school they're from, where they're located, and even their history. But it'll give you a little bit of information to try and track those teams down to see if there might be one there that might be close to you that you might be able to work with at competition. And last but not least, Roland, I'm going to give you the last word here. Any best tips, tricks, activities for rookies, best advice that you would have if you had to do this all over again? Roland, what's on your mind?
The best advice that I could give is do your best to be organized. I remember my first year with 1325, and it was absolute chaos, and it just made things worse. Do the best that you can to kind of make sure that your stuff is organized, that you know where it is. If you have the budget, buy some stuff in advance. I mean, you can reach out to myself or any of the other veterans, and we can give you kind of a list of things that no matter what the game is, you're going to need. You know, things like bearings and wheels and gearboxes and stuff like that. And then have it organized and have it ready to go, because that's something that killed us. First year that I was on the team, is that it was just a disaster as to where everything was. So be organized, you know, and it really helps then, because when you hit the build season and the stressful time comes, then at least you know where all your stuff is, and you're not wasting time finding stuff or scrambling to buy stuff last minute.
All right. Well, thanks very much for that last word, Roland. And we're just about at 8 o'clock. And so last question, maybe we can squeeze this one 30 seconds or less. I'm sorry, I'm only probably going to be able to go to one of our panelists here. And maybe I'll swing this over to Ben because you were a student on 2166 when you guys won Rookie All-Star. So I think of all of us here, you've got our most direct experience here. But for any rookies on our webinar who might be interested in this award called Rookie All-Star, which could give you an opportunity to qualify for the World Championships should you win it. Pretty difficult. But Ben, do you have any advice to give to a potential rookie team that might be trying to gun for this award? You know, what's involved and what are some of the best things that your team did to give yourselves the best shot at this award?
I think the Rookie All-Stars, it's kind of geared the same way as the Chairman's Award is, which is just about being involved with your community and spreading the word at first. So what we did in our rookie year was we really connected well with our sponsors. We made sure that we continued to update them throughout the season. We met with them. Some of them we got their advice on what we thought maybe, or what they thought we should do for the competition. And we also, like I said, we connected with 1114. And that was a huge help for us, like partnering with a mentor team, getting them to help us through the season. So we got advice from them on how to put together our application, and they kind of coached us through it. So that would be the tips I'd give you to try and help you win the Rookie All-Star Award.
Awesome. Well, thanks very much for that insight, Ben. It's 8 o'clock, and so what's going to happen now is we're going to officially end our formal part of the webinar, but we'll have a little bit of an extended informal session to be able to take any questions from the audience and just even, you know, have a bit of a conversation amongst ourselves. But I wanted to take a moment to thank our panelists, all three of you with us today. We really appreciate your time and your expertise in helping both rookie and veteran teams alike wrap their heads around some of the best ways to be able to prepare for the season. But thanks very much, guys. We really appreciate it. And if you're able/willing to join us for that informal session afterwards, we would love to have you. And the rest of the audience members, if you'd like to ask some questions for a less formal, just kind of impromptu question and answer period, please stay on with us. But thanks very much, guys. Really appreciate it. Have yourselves a great night.
Yep.
And thanks for joining us, so I guess, for our informal session. Tibor Torontali from 4946 Alpha Dogs. Sounds like you were able to join us for a Q&A session. Glad to have you on board.
Thank you. Yeah,
all right.
Glad to be here.
So I guess this is more of the fun stuff. Paul, have you got any questions lined up that you want us to try and handle?
I have a question from Alan Toms, but I'm going to unmute him so he can ask his question. There you go, Alan. You should be able to ask.
No, yeah, okay. Is everybody hearing me there okay?
Yeah, we can hear you great, Alan.
Yep. All right. Question was, and I'm not sure who said it, but they indicated some material list of some things that you should buy early, things like bearings and that sort of stuff. Is that something that is already created? Is that available somewhere? Is that something that we need to generate ourselves?
Oh, you know what? I'll take the first stab at this one. It's kind of hard to predict what you need to buy early when you don't know the game, but sort of every team, and that's why it's kind of hard to answer definitively, but there's one item which sounds so strange, but I'll tell you right now, Alan, you want to be going out and buying some pool noodles pretty much immediately before the weather gets cold and none of the stores keep them on the shelves anymore. I know that sounds strange, but they're foam pool noodles. Maybe someone else can maybe delve into the specifics on what the diameter needs to be, because I'm a little bit foggy on that one, but I know that's always a huge pain. But then what happens is in January when the game is released, you'll hear some of the more veteran teams, and this is why, you know, all the panelists have basically said try and get in touch with a veteran team. The veteran teams will be really good at sort of identifying, oh yeah, well, these pneumatic wheels are going to be huge for this game because the terrain is really rough. We expect those to sell out like in a matter of days, so you really need to get on the ball with that. But yeah, I think that's my first crack at answering that one. I guess for the informal stuff, it's just anyone who wants to jump in after that. So guys, anyone else want to take a crack at that one?
Well, Tibor actually prepared a list for us last year and the year before for rookie teams, and it was mainly focused on the credits that we get through AndyMark before Christmas. So maybe Tibor could talk a little bit about that.
Or maybe you can remind me what was on the list, Paul.
Is that a list available on our website? Because I can probably pull it up if it's readily available.
Well, yeah.
Well,
I'd second the pool noodle thing. The idea of grabbing the pool noodles from wherever you can. Ask your students if you can grab pool noodles. And one item that's really important, and you can get this at any time, but it's something that probably would have blown by me had I not been gotten great advice from Corey from 1241, and that was you can never have enough batteries. I'd be perfectly honest with you. You have almost 10 matches, per every regional or every event that you go to. We made it like our intent in our first year to cycle 13 batteries, and in that first year and the second year we have other teams borrowing our batteries and such. And Corey was really the one that prompted me for that. So make sure you go out and get batteries. Now, like I said, that's not one of the items that may run out. But back to what Sean said, depending on the game, whatever might be, something that might be popular to the game will sell out quickly. Last year, tracks I think sold out really quickly for AndyMark. I think that was a popular item for trying to go over the rough terrain and the number of different obstacles in Stronghold. So I think just stay really close to, the intention of the game, and then get on AndyMark as soon as you can, even with your first choice credits.
Alan, I just got an email from Paul. We'll see if we can get that rookie team parts orders list that both these gentlemen have been talking about up onto our website. But I also wanted to add on to Tibor's comment. Just say you did want to buy batteries or any other parts. Up on my screen, I have the First Robotics website, First Robotics Canada website, and it's a little known link, but way at the bottom, we have a few other websites and resources. We did set up a little database of Canadian part suppliers from way back in the day. There's a few of us who still update this, but being in Canada, sometimes we have some unique challenges in even sourcing our parts because a lot of the suppliers are just in the States. But if you go to the Canadian part suppliers, and if you just search, battery or batteries, let's go with batteries plural. Yeah, right off the bat, I think there are 3 sources, all Canadian, where you can get those from. And if we've really done our homework, yeah, they'll even give you a part number for what's known to work here with some contact information. And a lot of the times, there might be a note in here that will actually say, hey, tell them you're from a first team, because a lot of first teams buy from them, and they might be able to give you a discount.
Okay, Sean, we have another question. So I'm going to unmute Julian so he can ask it. There he goes. You're unmuted, Julian.
Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
All right, so our school is currently like a brand new team, and we haven't done like any preparations at all. So what do you think would be the first step in kind of starting up our team?
Okay, I'll take the first crack at this one, and Julian, the answer's probably going to be different for every team, so stay unmuted because I might have some questions to fire back at you. But Julian, first of all, how often are you guys able to meet, during this fall term, this preseason time, out of curiosity?
As of right now, it's like once a week because we're still trying to figure out all the paperwork and actually getting started.
Okay. Is there a reasonable opportunity to meet more than that, or would you say once a week is probably about right? And that's not meant to be a loaded question because my old team, Team 610, around this period of time, they're really only having official meetings about once per week. But some people do meet a little more often than that, and it'll change the answer, I think. So is once a week about where you want to be, or is there an opportunity to bump that up?
No, there's an opportunity to go more. Like we're planning on meeting a lot more times a week later on.
Okay. I want to hear from the other panelists, but I think if I was in your situation, I would try and contact an established veteran team close to you and see if they might be able to loan you one of these AndyMark kit robots.
Okay.
And if they're able to loan it to you, you could either tear it apart and try and rebuild it, because I think that would be a super valuable experience. Failing that, if it's already together, even just to learn how to drive it and to program it would be a huge experience. But that's going to determine on how often you can meet. Like if you're going to tear it down and build it completely up from scratch again, you're probably going to be wanting to meet, a few times a week, maybe like 2 or 3 times a week. You'll get the most out of it if you do it that way. If you're not meeting that often, maybe that veteran team can hand it to you and you can just drive it around and program it. But that's probably step number 1. And then for my advice, number 2, what I would do is I'd probably try and do one of those simulations where take last year's game, pull up the robot reveal video, show it to everyone on the team, and then have everyone pull out a sheet of paper and just start designing a robot that they think could play that game, and then take it back as a research project kind of to go through those websites like Chief Delphi, look at the robot reveal videos to look at a few of those and find maybe a robot that matched the drawing that they made, and then go onto the Blue Alliance and see how successful it is, and then get together and maybe just have an argument on which robots would have been the best. And it's kind of hard to say this, but it's really valuable if you have that discussion and you actually choose some robots which stink because you kind of also know what doesn't work as well, which is also a really important part of that discussion. But that would maybe be the second thing that I would do, maybe if it were me personally in your situation. Other panelists, you guys want to chime in on that one?
Yeah, I like your comment about the simulation. I think it's definitely valuable to go through like a full analysis and get familiar with the different resources that you have available, especially suppliers and things like that. But I would also encourage you to get like not an in-depth understanding, but just a high-level understanding of at least the last 4 games, if not 6 or 8, because it's quite often that there are aspects of the game that do repeat itself. And if you have that understanding of past games, it'll just be that much quicker to be able to, research different design choices and strategies right off the bat.
I can add to that, Sean, actually. That was a really good point, Ben, if I may. So, Julian, I would, number 1, I would reach out to as many teams as you can, and I would increase the number of times you meet from 1 day a week to at least 2 to 3. We had a really successful year in our rookie year, the Alpha Dogs, and when November and December rolled around, we were meeting 4 times a week, and right before the Christmas break, we went Monday to Sunday. That was overkill. It was pretty crazy, but I'm going to backtrack to something that I'm going to suggest to you that the Alpha Dogs were really weak on in that first year, and this goes back to a question that Sean said about what you would do, what you would redo if you were a rookie team. What I would redo as a rookie team is I would launch, a scouting team much sooner. Designate some members of the team that just analyze previous games and track a team and how they did in that year. And you have some great resources on Blue Alliance to do that, because that's where we were weakest, and we were weakest in that in our second year and even last year as well. And it's really difficult because you're scrambling as far as scouting goes to if you happen to be in a captain's position and you have to choose your alliances. So I would recommend that, but you really got to amp it up, Julian, and try to get the team to meet at least twice a week before kickoff starts.
All right. Julian, is Julian muted again? Or I'm just wanting to see if he's, if we were able to answer that question, or if he's got any follow-ups for that one. Julian, were we able to give you some information to move forward with that one?
Yeah, that helps a lot. Because we have people that are interested in it, and it's just the fact of us all meeting together and kind of starting it up.
Awesome.
Julian, how many people do you have on your team so far?
23.
That's good.
Okay, that's actually a really good number. One thing that I would give you advice on would be to try to make sure that you keep everyone engaged. So make sure that whatever projects or ideas you guys come up with, the majority of the group likes the idea of going forward with it, because if you're doing simulations or you're going to tear apart a robot, if let's just say you're someone that enjoys mechanical things like tearing apart a robot, but the majority of the people want to do something with programming, you just want to make sure that everyone is excited up until the build season, because I've seen teams where they start out with 50 people that sign up, and then by the time the build season starts, they're down to like 15, 20 members. So that's my advice, is just make sure that you're doing something that everyone's excited for and they're having a good time, and that'll help you grow into a strong team, and that everyone has each other's back and really enjoys coming out to robotics.
Yeah, and I'm going to add to that, because what makes what Corey said difficult is, when you're a young team doing this for the first time, a lot of them, are very ambitious. Like, you kind of want to do everything perfectly, even in this off season for the stuff that you're trying. I'm going to echo what Corey said. It's more important to keep people engaged and positive and happy and excited moving into the real build season, because that's when you're really going to work them. Don't get burned out right now. Keep everyone engaged, and don't try and do anything perfectly, because one of the best lessons I've learned doing this program is that the most enjoyable opportunities and the best learning opportunities have been from just making mistakes and kind of screwing things up left, right, and center. And so maybe just temper that one if you find that your guys are getting really kind of, maybe too serious about the process, but ensure as many people are engaged and having fun with the process as much as possible.
All right, sounds good. Thanks, guys.
Paul, are there any other questions that we've got lined up?
No, that's it. That's all the questions we've had so far.
Hey, Sean, I'd like to add one thing for some advice for rookie teams, and I found this was really helpful for us. It was probably one of the first things that we did well in the first year when I was on 1325 was finding sponsors and getting them involved and bringing them on board, because it's really important that you get the help, right? Because especially if you only have 20 students on the team, you don't want to burden them with all the costs. We all know. I mean, now that we're district, it's a lot better, but I mean, like, it's a huge budget to manage, and the more help you can get from sponsorship, the better. And we had great success just getting the parents involved, right? I mean, some of our best sponsors have come from parents of our members. So don't forget that end of it as well. I mean, you kind of got to keep your eye on the bottom line, unfortunately, and on the dollars and cents. And I know that's difficult in the first year, but lean on your parents, get them involved. They're a good source for sponsorship, even money or for in-kind.
Yeah, for rookie teams especially, because you guys, rookie teams are getting a fair number of grants to ease the burden in that first year. And the purpose of those grants is not for you to become dependent on the grants, because the grants do taper off as the years go by, but it's supposed to ease the burden in that first year so that you can fundraise in the first year to support yourself for future years. So yeah, I guess I'll echo that one for sure, Roland. And in terms of approaching parents, just to get into a few more specifics, for my previous teams, one of the most effective things has been just a simple letter and email to go back to the parents and just say, hey, parents, if you work for a company or involved with a company that has a philanthropy budget, a lot of the times there's already money set aside for employees who are involved in programs just like FIRST. And I guess I'll give an example. When I was a student, or rather when I was a mentor on Team 188, we had some parents and mentors who were associated with the team who worked for Bell Canada. And I don't know if it's still going on, but at the time, Bell Canada basically said, well, yeah, if we have employees who are involved with, an FRC team and they're spending X number of hours there, they will pretty much just automatically donate X number of dollars. And so, those have been some of our best opportunities. And sometimes they start small at, $500 or $1,000 a year. And then year after year, if you're able to actually get them out to a competition to see what these kids are doing and to see these robots in person, sometimes those sponsorship dollars grow in a really big way. But yeah, for a rookie team, for sure, even relating back to the comments we were making to him and trying to get all the students engaged. If you've got a team of 23 students, what would be amazing is if 5 of them are thinking about going into business for university, and not even necessarily engineering, but they're thinking about going into business, to be able to put together a PowerPoint presentation that's like a pitch to a corporate sponsor, to make some cold calls and go out and deliver that pitch. I'll tell you, in terms of preparation for, a real business experience, there's nothing that beats that. I have so many guys who've been through our teams and spearheaded that process, and the level of preparation and experience that they got from that was just unbelievable. It's kind of scary as a high school student, but man, to be able to do that and to get your first win, or your first sale, I should say, by getting a sponsorship in, a hugely rewarding experience. And, it's really cool for students to bring in real dollars for their teams. Paul, I think there's some other questions which are coming in.
Yes, we do have a couple of questions. So I'm going to unmute Alan Tom so he can ask his question. Go ahead, Alan.
Oh, yeah, okay. Hope everybody can hear me there. I had a question in regards to we're currently bought our kit for a chassis, and I'm trying to come up with, we're madly working on putting that together, and the kids are super engaged in building that, and that will give us an opportunity to do all the programming and all the stuff that we want to do kind of pre-season. I'm trying to come up with an idea for the manipulator, the thing that goes on the chassis, either the thrower or the scooper or the picker-upper or whatever we call that thing. Any suggestions from some of the veteran teams on where to start with that? What type of manipulator should we be looking at? Is there a word for that?
Oh man, I have a really strong opinion on this one, but out of curiosity, I want to hear from some of the panelists before I color anyone's opinion. But is there anyone else on the call that wants to take a crack at this one first?
I mean, 50% of the FRC games have had a ball as part of the game piece, so it'd be a pretty safe bet to go with that. However, last year was a ball game, so I would say it's unlikely that next year will be one. But you can kind of adapt pretty much any type of intake to any game piece. So I would manipulate, or I would make an intake as your first manipulator.
I would have to agree with that absolutely. That's the I think that's the area, Ben, that a lot of teams are weak at, and it's an area that the Alpha Dogs need more improvement on. You can see that the Excelsior teams, or the teams that dominate the games each year, their intake is always superior to others, to the point, it's Alan, I guess, right, where there's less reliance on the driver trying to herd the object into the robot, and that there's a mechanism that makes it easier. So try to keep that in mind and analyze other previous robots that have really, really effective, efficient intake mechanisms.
I guess this is why we call it Ask the Experts, because I think you got 2 really good expert opinions on that, because I was going to say the exact same thing. When you build your robots, what you do is you set your priorities on what that robot absolutely has to do. And number 1 on that list is always the robot's got to be able to drive around, because you can't do anything else in the game unless your robot can drive first. So you always concentrate on the drivetrain and get that going. And so assuming that's taken care of, because based on your question, you've already sort of jumped to step 2, which is, well, okay, it drives around. What do I want to do next? Both of these guys have said intake. You can't score a ball. You can't shoot a frisbee. You can't do anything unless you pick up the darn piece that you're trying to score first. And this is probably one of the biggest rookie mistakes, young team mistakes, is that they put all their time and energies in whatever's going to shoot or launch that darn game piece, and then picking it up as an afterthought, and you have this beautiful shooter, but you can't even get a piece in order to shoot it. So intakes. It may not sound super sexy to be able to build in your preseason some sort of manipulator to be able to just pick up balls or spit them out, but 100% it's where I would go if that's your goal. If your goal is to try and have a really competitive robot, or at least a competitive robot in your first year. But I will sort of temper that advice depending on the philosophy of your team. if your philosophy for your team is really just to get the kids excited and just to do cool stuff, and I'm going to tell you this, there are teams which operate with that philosophy, and that's totally great too. You just don't happen to have that many teams on our call right now. The ones who are with us tend to be more competitive, where we're trying to win these matches. But there are some teams out there who just go out and they just try and build the craziest looking or performing robot out there, which is totally viable. You could just try and go out and build something that's just visually really, really, really cool if that's the route that you want to go. But if you're looking to be competitive, building an intake 100%, in my opinion, is the way to go. And I would third, what Ben and Tibor have said on that one.
Okay.
Okay, so we do have another question, Sean. It's, I'm going to say Roheen Mansouri. Sorry, Roheen, if I mispronounced your name. But you're unmuted, so go ahead with your question.
Well done. That was actually a correct pronunciation. But all right. So a lot of my teams actually like watching this. Like for example, Julian is actually we all go to Woodbridge College. But anyway, my question is that do you guys have any recommendations as to like big sponsors that we should try going to? Like for example, I believe earlier we mentioned like Bell Canada.
Yeah, I'll take a first crack at that one. For sponsors for an FRC team, generally, I tend not to go for big sponsors unless you have an existing contact or relationship there. And so, for instance, if you've got a parent, the reason for that is usually it's a time-consuming process to be able to get a large sponsor right off the bat, unless you have some people who've really done it before who are really willing to spend a lot of time and energy, and even adults and mentors who are willing to help support that process. It can be really difficult. So generally speaking, I don't even really, for my first shot at getting sponsors for a team, if you're a rookie, I actually don't really even differentiate between big and small. I just look at who might you possibly already have an existing relationship with. And that's really it for my first cut. There's very, very few like big company cold calls that I've personally been super successful with. Again, even with Bell Canada, it was because we had parents and mentors in particular who were working there, so that relationship was most important. I think the only really successful cold call that I've been involved with was with 610, and I think we had a student who literally like cold called the CEO of TELUS and was able to get some free data plans for tablets for scouting, but it wasn't money, which I think for most rookie teams, and I would say for most teams, you're probably looking for a company that will be able to write you a check to give you, money, because that's the most flexible type of sponsorship. Particularly when you're asking for money, I wouldn't differentiate between big and small or target specific companies because they do a particular thing. I would focus on just anyone who hopefully you might have any kind of a relationship with already.
Okay.
I would add to that, as I mentioned before, your parents are your number one source for your sponsors. We got lucky, and we had a couple of parents that work for some of the big banks. The big banks have a program. I know this for a fact from TD and from Royal Bank. Royal Bank's been a sponsor of ours now, I think, for 5 years running, because we happen to have parents that work there. And for every parent, you get $500. And that's nothing to tease at. TD has a similar program. All they have to do is apply. And if I remember right, they have to do this like now. I'm pretty sure the cutoff for that kind of program is before Christmas. So if you've got anybody who's a parent on your team, even if it's not a parent, for goodness sake, if they have an uncle or a neighbor that works at the bank,
I see.
Get them to apply, because I believe it's just a form they have to fill out, and then the bank writes a check. It's kind of it's an interesting process, but that's an easy one, and that was an easy one for us. Other ones, like our biggest challenge was with manufacturing, because like our school doesn't have a machine shop. So we have a number of in-kind sponsors that manufacture our parts for us, and that's a harder one to do. And I will admit, and we've kind of gone through them. because it happens sometimes that you know, you get a manufacturer that will agree to do a season for you, and then once they figure out how much it really costs them, they kind of beg off in years following, unfortunately. But so we kind of run through those a little bit. But the in-kind manufacturers are hard. But other, like, work through your parents. That's the low-hanging fruit. Get them first.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then
just another thing. Oh, my bad.
No, go ahead, Rohin.
Thank you. What is the programming aspect like for FRC, and like what language are we using?
Alpha Dogs use Java. We're staunch because it's easy to teach. Like we found that it's a lot easier to use. You know, we have a computer science teacher in school that uses Java, and all the kids are keen to it. So
yeah,
can I add one thing though? Whereabouts is your team located? Where in the GTA or in Ontario?
Vaughan Woodbridge.
Okay, so one thing that the Alpha Dogs were extremely successful about as far as fundraising, and I'll make this really brief because you had the other question. We approached a number of different local community charity fundraiser clubs, kind of like Rotary clubs and Kinsman clubs, and we were really successful about it. But if you do that, you have to make a commitment to the community. The Alpha Dogs are based out of Bolton, Ontario. It's a really tiny town in Caledon. It's north of 7 on Highway 50, and that was our most successful route because we tried getting sponsorships from larger corporations, and it was pretty weak. But you can rely, like what you've heard, try to get the parents involved, and you can reach out to Rotary clubs and such. The Alpha Dogs in their first year, we raised in between $35,000 and $40,000, which is a really strong amount. So we were really successful at it, but like I said, we worked at it really difficult. I mean, hard. So anyways, I just wanted to add that.
Yeah, I'll jump in on the programming question, Rohin. And, you know, I'm going to answer two questions at once because I get asked that one a lot. And I get also asked in terms of CAD programs. So if you want to do computer-aided design to design your robots, there are actually 3 free options which are included with registration, which are SolidWorks, Autodesk Inventor, and PTC Creo. You're probably not as interested on that side, but I get asked which one should I use of those as well. But the answer to both questions is the same. The first answer is if you have anyone, whether it's a student or a mentor or a teacher with pre-existing experience or knowledge with one of your options, that pretty much makes the decision for you. So for FRC programming, your options are C++, Java, and LabVIEW. Those are your 3 officially supported options. So if you've got a teacher or a mentor or even a student who's got a lot of experience in any one of those, who's willing to take a leadership role with that, that's basically the one you should go with. One unsupported, unofficial programming language is Python. I don't have too much experience with that one, but I believe there are some teams who use that. I can't really comment on that one, but that one's a bit caveat emptor. But again, if you have serious experience in that somewhere on your team, it would be one to consider. But branching off of what Tibor said, for my team, 610, we go Java as well. But that's also part and parcel because I'm a Java teacher. And I'm a Java teacher because my school had AP Computer Science, which is also pure Java. And so I figured if I could start in grade 9 teaching Java, and I did that for 4 years, I'd be able to give my students some great preparation for that one. If we still have some of the other panelists, maybe like a 2-second answer, just if you wanted to take a quick survey, I'd be curious to know what programming languages do you guys use? Ben, Corey, Roland, are you guys on the call still?
Yeah. Well, yeah, I am. We use Java. But I will admit that we started with LabVIEW, and just because it's easy to get up and going, especially if you don't have any programming knowledge, because it's all graphical.
Oh yeah.
So it's kind of nice in that regard. But you do run into limits eventually with what you can do with it, and it's a lot better to go to either to Java or C++, and we went with Java.
Yeah, 11.14 uses Java as well, and just to take off your point with LabVIEW, as you can see, most of the panelists here, they all use Java. I'd recommend not using LabVIEW if you. I don't want to say don't use it. If you have somebody that has experience with it, definitely use it. But if you're kind of weighing out your options and they're all kind of equal to you, you'll get more support at events for Java and C++ and what you will for LabVIEW.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'll back LabVIEW a little bit there because I agree 100% with what Ben just said. You know, in terms of support, you will definitely get more Java and C++, but if you have absolutely zero programming expertise on your team, like, you know, that no one has programmed a shred of code in their lives ever before, and everyone is terrified of that, LabVIEW has worked out for a good number of teams just to get up and running. So, you know, maybe, Roheen, what situation are you guys in? Do you guys have some talented programmers available who might have done some other programming languages, or are you in the situation
Yeah,
where
definitely.
you have nothing?
Like, me, myself, I'm experienced in, like, C++, Python 3.4, and Turing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And right now, I believe our ICS, like our computer science classes, are teaching Turing in, like, grade 9, and then in 10, 11, and 12, I believe it's Python.
Mm-hmm. So I'd say probably C++ or Java are two good options for you. And you personally, I mean, if you're thinking about being involved on the programming side and you already have C++ experience,
Yep.
I actually personally haven't touched the C++ tools in a little while, but I mean, there are a lot of really good teams out there that do C++ as well. Even syntactically, C++ and Java are similar enough that, you know, you could argue probably either between those, given your profile. Yeah. Hopefully that.
Okay, I'm going to promote LabVIEW here from Team 4001, and we did it and are doing it for two reasons. The first reason is, was sort of mentioned about Java at events, is that our mentors from Quanzer Inc. in Markham, they do Java. It's part of their business, so there's resources for us there. And the second reason was sort of accidental, is that what happened is we discovered after using it that if you use enough of their programs from PTC, which are free from first when you get your kit in January, is they'll actually sponsor you. So they've sponsored us for about $2,500 per year.
Wow.
So, and they now have a new grant that's come out that Canadian teams can apply for if they use, there's some things you have to do, but one of them is you have to use LabVIEW and you have to be willing to get some students trained on it. So,
Paul, I think you misspoke there. Your sponsor Quanzer uses LabVIEW, not Java. They use LabVIEW.
Did I say Java?
Yeah, I
Oh,
think
yeah,
you actually said Java. Because I know Quanzer uses LabVIEW extensively, and LabVIEW really is used in engineering like quite a bit, like in terms of getting industrial machines up and running very, very quickly in a very, very straightforward way, and just kind of expecting things to work. Like it's pretty prominent. You might be surprised, because I know a lot of people walk into this thinking, oh, well, LabVIEW, well, why am I learning this, or why is it an option? Because I've never really heard of it before. But it's actually pretty widespreadly adopted in industry for programming things like industrial machines, rapid prototyping. And so, yeah, but in your situation, it sounds like you've got some text-based programming experience, which I think which will probably shape your decision more so.
Mm-hmm.
All right, guys, we're running a little bit over, but those were some great questions, and I wanted to thank everyone who was on the webinar, both participants and our panelists, and Tibor, who was able to join us for the Q&A session. I think this was amazing. We managed to get a lot of information out, and I think a lot of rookies and even veteran teams who had some questions for us were able to get a lot of questions answered. But thanks very much, and hopefully you guys will be able to join us next week for our webinar. And I'm a little embarrassed because I don't have what the webinar is open in front of me to be able to tell you. Oh, it is, I want to say it's District Model and Awards. Let me double check that. But we hope that you can join us for our webinar for next week to be able to ask the experts. But thanks very much for being on the call, everyone, and have yourselves a great night. Bye-bye now.
Thank you, Sean.
Thanks.
Thanks, Sean.
Hi, Sean. Thanks for having me.